The Republican vice presidential nominee, Senator J.D. Vance, was on Meet the Press, and Kristen Welker asked him if he thought Donald Trump would sign a national abortion ban. Would veto a national abortion ban. Oh, just watch this.
Can you commit, Senator, sitting right here with me today, that if you and Donald Trump are elected, that you will not impose a federal ban on abortion?
I can absolutely commit that, Kristen. And Donald Trump has been as clear about that as possible. He
But would
said
he
that
veto
explicitly.
it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not supporting it as the president of the United States, you fundamentally have to veto it.
So he would veto a federal abortion ban?
I think he would. He said that explicitly that he would.
Joe, has it been that clear? Because that was news to me.
No, it hasn't. But this is the issue, Jonathan, that Trump even recognized early. We got to just hightail it and get out of town on. We don't want to talk about this issue. It's hurting us politically. So they're doing the best thing they can do, which is try to, as quickly as possible, back up and they don't even want to talk about this, Jonathan.
This is a totally panicked campaign.
Completely.
I mean, the fact that they're backing away from this, which will upset a lot of Republicans,
their base.
But they know that they don't have any other choice. I mean, it is what cost Republicans so many seats in the last midterms, and there's so much organizing going on. They know that there's enormous power in turning out voters for this, and they're just in complete retreat mode. It's remarkable.
And every day they say something different. Every day.
Right. And Maria Teresa, I mean, when I heard that, I thought, that's a bald-faced lie. I mean, there's no way. I can't. What did you make of that?
Jonathan, you're exactly right. It's a bold-faced lie, but they're consistent with their position. And this is the challenge, is that they are very much aligned with the extreme right of their party, but they also need the evangelical movement to make sure that they're voting for them, because otherwise they don't really have any room to grow. And so if you start losing the evangelical vote, then how do you have a chance to win? So I actually think they have put themselves in an absolute bind, because one of the things that we learned during the 2022 midterm elections was that even independent Republican-leaning men didn't like this idea that someone was going to make a decision on behalf of their daughters or their wives on whether or not they should have agency over their bodies. It is a losing issue for them, but they are in a bind. They're going to have a very hard time getting out of it.
Yeah, Donna, what did you believe J.D. Vance when he said, oh, he'll totally veto a national abortion ban?
Well, this is a problem, is that not only are they ticking off their base and ticking off evangelicals, but they're not credible. So it's not like they're making one part of the base mad and then gaining some other voters, because it's completely incredible. I mean, Donald Trump takes credit for getting rid of Roe v. Wade, and you can't do that at the same time and try to back around whether you support abortion rights. So there's no credibility at all. I mean, I laughed when I heard J.D. Vance say that.
You laughed. I cackled. Maria Teresa, let's talk about the Voto Latino poll of battleground states that showed Vice President Harris is leading Trump by 31 percentage points among Latino voters in battleground states. Previous polls showed that President Biden was leading Trump by just 13 percentage points. Talk to us about what's going on here.
So to be clear, this was the Friday before the convention started, so we're really anxious to get back into the field to better understand it. What surprised us is that we expected for folks that were considering voting third party to swing over to the Democrats the closer we got to the election. What we didn't expect was folks that were considering Trump to move over to the Harris camp. And that's the headline right now, is that just like Brendan, who listened to the convention very closely, said, wait a second, maybe Harris is for me, so did Republican-leading Latino voters in North Carolina, in Pennsylvania, in Nevada, in Arizona. And so what Harris needs to do is continue having a conversation with these individuals saying, what are you going to do around business? What are you going to do making sure that people have access to excellent education, but in a way that is mindful of the tax agenda? And so that's what these individuals are going to start looking for moving forward. But the fact that she is taking voters away from Trump, that's the headline.
You know, the last time we talked, this was months ago, Maria Teresa, you mentioned that one of the big fears, and this is when President Biden was still at the top of the ticket, was that people would maybe choose third party instead of President Biden. Is that still a concern?
Less so, because what you saw is the fact that the 7% for Kennedy is what we expected around mid-September, early October, not even before the convention. So again, we're expecting a bigger bump. And the folks that remain right now that are in the Kennedy camp, so to speak, now that he's consolidated with Trump, those are more than likely the anti-vaxxers. And moving those folks to the Democrats is almost an impossibility. But the fact that she's doing so well against Trump, that just gives her the opportunity to continue moving upwards.
All right, we have no time, but I need to get your thoughts on this real fast. Brendan.
Well, one of the most remarkable things for me in the speech was that she talked about immigration only in the context of border security. When was the last time Democrats said the only thing we want to do on immigration is border security? I think it's a recognition that Latina voters vote for things, not just expanding the pool of people here.
Boom. Jonathan, she had an amazing convention. I'm part of Republicans for Harris. The number of Republicans I've heard from this weekend who are jazzed by what they heard from the convention out of her is amazing.
Former Congressman Joe Walsh, former Congresswoman Donna Edwards, Brendan Buck, Maria Teresa Kumar, thank you all very much for coming back to this Sunday show.